This last season at Washington, Zach Ertz just played his best season since 2021. 12 years in the league and he's built up quite the resume for a case in the Hall of Fame. But like any great tight end, had some backups just in case they were needed. Even the performances Ertz put up, he couldn't be 100% all the time. And when he wasn't, they prevailed. In this video, I'll be looking at the tight end number 2s behind the legend, Zach Ertz. When Ertz was drafted second round by the Eagles in 2013, he would compete alongside longtime starter Brent Celek. Celek played college at Cincinnati for 4 years and was drafted by the Eagles in the 5th round of the 2007 draft. He backed up that longtime starter of LJ Smith until 2009 when he became the starter for the Eagles. That season, he would break out, hitting a career high of 76 catches for 971 yards and 8 touchdowns. The season wasn't even over before Philadelphia gave Celek a 6-year contract. He became one of Michael Vick's favorite targets until his departure in 2013. Brent would remain the starter over Ertz for his rookie season, but both would make big impacts for the Philly offense, putting up 971 yards and 10 touchdowns together. In 2014, Ertz would earn the starting role, putting Celek as tight end number 2. He would remain in that position for the next few seasons. Even when Trey Burton was picking up more receiving yards off his workload, Celek provided mentorship and reliable blocking for the Eagles. He would also be part of the Eagles team that won Super Bowl 52 over the Patriots. On March 13th, 2018, Celek was released by the Eagles. Brent spent that 2018 offseason a free agent until August 31st, when he announced his retirement from football. In 398 receptions, Celek recorded 4,998 receiving yards and 31 touchdowns. Fast forward to February 7th, 2020. He was brought back to Philadelphia as a personal consultant in their operations department. Interesting fact with this position, he aided the safeties for Super Bowl 59 by running routes with them, preparing to be against Chiefs Travis Kelce. Safe to say, that work paid off. Even though he's not in cleats, Celek still helps out the Eagles. After Celek was released, the Eagles were in need of a new tight end to be by alongside Ertz, and that was none other than the 2nd round pick, Dallas Goedert. After 4 years in South Dakota State, he was drafted in 2018. His rookie season would be capped as Ertz would have his career high season with the Eagles. In 2019, Goedert would pick up pace, getting over 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. Between this time, he has been reliable, not missing one game for Philadelphia. 2020 would be a wonky season for both Ertz and Goedert alike. Dallas would miss some time, being placed on IR due to an ankle injury, missing a total of 5 games. 2021 was looking to be in a bounce back year, playing the first 5 games of the season but missed week 6, where the day after Zach Ertz was traded. From then, Goedert became the starter for the Eagles. He would hit his career high of 830 receiving yards, which was enough to earn a 4-year contract extension from the Eagles. In the last 3 seasons, with 36 games under his belt, Dallas recorded 156 receptions of 1,790 yards and 8 touchdowns. Although he hasn't had a full healthy season since becoming the starter, he has been dominant under that Philly offense that has a Super Bowl loss and win in their history. If you recalled, I did mention that Dallas Goedert did miss significant time, so that means another tight end had to pick up where he left off, being the tight end number 2, and that was Richard Rodgers II. After spending 3 years in UCal, he was drafted by the Packers in the 3rd round of the 2014 draft. He would play out his entire contract with the Packers, only missing a game in 2017, playing with fellow Packers of Andrew Quarles, Jared Cook, Martellus Bennett, and Lance Hendricks. Green Bay would let Rodgers walk into the 2018 offseason, where the Eagles would sign him for the first time in his career. His stint started with a knee injury, which got him placed on IR, missing the first 10 games of the season. His only statistics that season was a catch for 7 yards against the Texans. Even with that, he played well enough to earn a 2-year contract with the team. Unfortunately, he would start the season, once again, on IR with a foot injury. The Eagles would release Rodgers with an injury settlement after week 1 of the 2019 season. He would remain a free agent until the Eagles signed him back to the active roster in time for the season finale. After that, the Eagles would let him walk into the 2020 offseason. Rodgers would sign with the Washington football team, reuniting him with his father, Richard Rodgers Sr., where he was the assistant defensive back coach. Of course, with 2020 being 2020, this would lead to him signing back with the Eagles for a second stint. Joshua Perkins was placed on IR, so Philadelphia was in need of a tight end behind Ertz and Goedert. Now fast forward to Goater being placed on IR. Rodgers was promoted to backup Zach Ertz. In Week 7, Rodgers started for the Eagles due to Zach Ertz being placed on IR due to a high ankle sprain. He recorded 6 catches for 68 yards in the win over the Giants. Dallas Goater would be back after that, putting Rodgers behind him. Ertz would be back later on, limiting his playtime with the offense. Highlights that season was him getting his first touchdown since 2017 and catching a 33-yard Hail Mary pass. His efforts led to him earning a 1-year extension on June 11, 2021, but ultimately to him being a final roster cut. The Eagles would sign him to the practice squad on September 21st, but released him a week later. Rodgers would then sign with the Cardinals practice squad, only to be released 3 days later. This eventually led him back to Philadelphia on their practice squad for a third stint, days after the Ertz trade. He would remain there until he was promoted to the active roster for their playoff run. The Eagles would lose in the wild card, and Rodgers would only get 27 total snaps in that game. He would remain with the Eagles for the 2022 offseason, but was placed on the PUP list on July 27th from suffering an injury. He would be activated just in time for the preseason, but was a final roster cut. Rodgers was signed with the Chargers and their practice squad to start the season, and would be promoted to the active roster on September 28th. He would remain on the roster until being placed on IR, missing the last 5 games of the season. The Chargers would let him walk into the 2023 offseason, where he has been out of the league since, presumably done with football. In 9 years, Rodgers has recorded 148 receptions of 1,533 yards and 15 touchdowns. On October 15, 2021, Zach Ertz was traded to the Arizona Cardinals for cornerback Tay Gowan and a 5th-round pick. Gowan would play 2 games for Philly before being a final roster cut, and the 5th rounder eventually was traded away in order to move up and draft Jordan Davis. The Cardinals starter in Max Williams tore his ACL and would miss the rest of the season, so they were in need of a starting tight end. Once Ertz arrived, he overshadowed the rest of the tight end core. It ended up being that the tight end number 2 didn't have any significant impact on that offense. That being said, with 182 offensive snaps to their name that season, Darrell Daniels is the de facto backup tight end, with Demetrius Harris being close behind with 137, being more apparent in special teams. Darrell Daniels played 4 years at Washington before going undrafted in 2017. His first contract would be with the Colts, where he made the active roster and played 13 games for Indianapolis. He would remain with the Colts through the offseason and the preseason until September 1st, 2018, when he was traded to Seattle in exchange for wide receiver Marcus Johnson, who would spend 3 seasons with the Colts. Even with the move, Daniels started the season on the practice squad, but was promoted to the active roster and played 9 games for the Seahawks before he was waived on November 24th. 2 days later, he would sign with the Cardinals to play out the rest of the season. The 2019 season would begin with Daniels on the practice squad, but was promoted to the active roster after Week 1. He would play out the rest of the season, only missing 1 game. One of his highlights was in Week 14 against the Steelers, where he forced a fumble on a fake punt, which was recovered by the Cardinals. In 2020, he made the active roster and only missed 4 games due to injury. He did catch his first NFL touchdown for 21 yards against the Dolphins. 2020 would be his career high season with the Cardinals. Aforementioned that in 2021, the ball did not get thrown to Daniels that much, with Williams and Ertz in front, only getting 4 targets. After that season, Arizona would let Daniels walk into the 2022 offseason. He would sign with the Texans on May 23rd, but was released on June 11th. The next opportunity would be with the Colts practice squad on November 9th, but was released in less than a week. Finally, Daniels would sign with the Lions on August 2nd, 2023, and made their practice squad. He would be promoted to the active roster for 6 games in Detroit, until being waived on October 21st. Majority of the snaps in that tenure were from special teams. Since then, he has been out of the league, and has recently picked up a rapping career. Ain't a place in the city that I can't go. I keep my mini fully heavy Draco. Even with Ertz being over 30, the Cardinals would sign a 3-year contract after the 2021 season. This also didn't stop the Cardinals from seeking youth and potentially the future replacement of Ertz. In the NFL 2022 draft, the Cardinals would draft Trey McBride in the 2nd round. After spending 4 years at Colorado State, he would impress Arizona enough to bring him onto the team. For his rookie season, McBride would be behind Ertz until Week 10, when Ertz was placed on IR with a season-ending knee injury and became the starter for the Cardinals. In 2023, he would still be the backup to Ertz until after week 7 when Ertz was placed on IR with the quad injury and became the starter. On November 30th, Ertz was waived upon his request to be released, making McBride the full-time starter for Arizona. His involvement would go from 265 yards to 825 yards, with more of the season to work with. 2024 would be McBride's first full season as a starter, and he would have his breakout season and lead the team with 111 receptions, 1,146 yards, along with 2 touchdowns. He would earn his first Pro Bowl selection and was the Cardinals' Multi-Paying Man of the Year nominee. In this 2025 offseason, McBride will earn a 4-year contract extension. So far, McBride is making an impact and a good start for his career, something that Ertz saw earlier before requesting his release. After his release, Ertz would spend the next couple months as a free agent until January 22nd, 2024, when he would sign with the Lions practice squad. The Lions were in the playoff run and lost Brock Wright to injury, so they brought in Ertz for insurance. The Lions would lose to the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and Ertz's practice squad contract would expire without him playing a game for Detroit. After ring chasing with the Lions, Ertz was ready to play for a team as their starting tight end, and the team that chose to take him on that offer was the Washington Commanders, signing him to a 1-year contract on March 12, 2024. Former starter Logan Thomas was released just before the new season started, so Ertz made the perfect sense. This signing came with changes, but John Bates wasn't surprised to remain as the tight end number 2. Spending 4 years in Boise State, Bates would be drafted by the then Washington football team in the 4th round of the 2021 draft. He would, for his rookie season, be behind Logan Thomas and Ricky Seals-Jones. After week 5, Bates would be promoted to tight end number 2 after Thomas was placed on IR with a hamstring injury and remained there until week 11 when he started due to injury from Seals-Jones. Logan Thomas would come back to start for the next 2 games until being placed on IR after suffering a knee injury, which conveniently Seals-Jones returned from his injury. Bates would get another start in the season finale when both Thomas and Seals-Jones were out. His rookie season is his most productive season so far, with 20 catches for 249 yards and a touchdown. Seals-Jones was let go, leaving Bates as tight end number 2 behind Thomas for the next 2 seasons. In that span, he would only miss 1 game and start 11 when Thomas was injured. But in the end, he was primarily the backup, which did not change when Ertz came into the fold. The Commanders would even make things interesting by drafting Kansas State's Ben Sinnott in the 2nd round of the 2024 draft. Against the odds, Bates retained his position, being behind number 1. He would have his least productive season in the receiving category, but built up to be a prominent blocker for the Washington offense that was hot as the season continued. He would be involved when Washington made the playoffs, catching 3 passes for 31 yards before losing to the Eagles in the NFC Championship, creating a full circle moment for Ertz. Bates' blocking and reliability for all these seasons earned him a 3-year contract on March 11, 2025, and will compete for tight end number 2 role with Ben Sinnott. Zach Ertz still has some ball, playing his best season since 2021 with dual effort in Philadelphia and Arizona. The same day John Bates was extended, so was Zach Ertz, signing a 1-year extension, playing for another shot for Super Bowl 60 with Washington. Ertz has had some strong company behind all these years: the mentorship of Brent Selleck, the youthfulness of Dallas Goedert and Trey McBride, and the determination of Darrell Daniels and Richard Rodgers. It is men like these that keeps Ertz going. Even Ben Sinnott, with emerging being alongside with him, Ertz's impact has stood the test of time and affecting others for the better. His story is not done. He still wants another ring, and he does not have a bus in Canton yet.